All right, script for remotely conducted open meetings. As a preliminary matter, this is Brooke Mirbigan, Chair. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Angus McLeod.
Here.
Lucy Dillon. Lucy? You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Here.
There we go. And staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Holly Backus.
Present.
All right, anticipated speakers, there are none. Introduction to remote meeting. Good afternoon. The open meeting of the Historic Structures Advisory Board of Nantucket is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the Historic Structures Advisory Board of Nantucket is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I, Brooke Mirbigan, the chair, notes otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Brooke Mirbigan, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, question, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. All right. Let's see. All right, so may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Yes.
Second.
All right. Thank you. And approval of the minutes from 8/17/2020, motion?
Yes.
Second,
Yes.
Angus? All right. And is there anything else that I need to do, Holly? Are we good to go?
Remember,
You're
you
good
got to
to
take a
go.
roll call. You got to take roll call
Oh, yeah,
votes
roll
on
call.
the agendas and the minutes and everything else.
Oh, I just did that. No? Oh,
No, you just got to vote and that was it.
No. Yep, you need to do that.
all right. So we did the roll call. Like that was the very first thing.
No, you got to do them on the minutes
Do the-
and everything.
For the minutes, you do have to do that
Okay, so I just do what I did at the beginning, do it again. All right, so
for each thing.
members present, Angus McLeod,
Here.
Lucy Dillon,
Here.
and who's, and Mr. Mickey Rowland by phone.
I'm here. My power had gone out, so I'm just rebooting my computer. It's back on, so I'll be with you visually in a minute.
Okay. And then, so now do a motion to approve what we're looking at today.
Yes. Okay. So moved.
All right. Second?
Second.
All right. Anything else?
No, then you've got to go through the vote one at a time.
What do you mean the votes?
You approved and you got a motion and a second, but now you got to vote by roll call to approve the motion and the second each
Okay.
time. A pain in the butt that it is.
All right. Lucy, Dylan?
Yes.
Aye. All right. Angus?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
All right. Anything else? I'm not a
Angus-
master at this, not even close.
You don't want to be a master of this.
Just make sure after every vote that you do the roll call. That's all.
Okay.
You'll get it.
Do I want to? All right. So first item is 26 Easy Street, Kevin Dale, move off demo shed.
You all know where this property is. There's two applications, obviously, one for this structure and one for this one on the corner of Oak and Easy Street. NHL data indicates that this is from the 60s, 1965. So this is the first demo move off, that shed, and then that's the second. I can get back down here. Sorry. Don't believe, oh yeah, there is a HDC survey. This used to be Harry Gordon's property, just to give you a little bit of history to it. There are photographs that were included. They have not deciphered on exactly when you look at these. Let me see if I can get to them. Might not be in this application. No, it's in the other one. But there's historic photographs of the other structure. I think the main structure is older, but anyway, that's a different story. What's before you right now is just the shed. Which
Mickey,
is
do you have any
indicated in
thoughts on the
this-
shed?
Who are you asking?
Mickey Rowland?
Oh, Mickey.
Unmute. You got to unmute.
Okay, so, sorry, looks like it's a concrete block shed. I think I'm fine with demo on that shed.
Lucy?
I'm fine.
Okay. Angus?
I concur.
All right. No concerns from the chair. All right.
Okay. Get to the other one.
This next one is demo move off mixed use structure.
So this is the main building next door. Sorry, as it loads.
And what do we know about this?
Well, I think it's older. That it's just been changed over, the years, the facade. But if you look at some of the historic photographs that they included in the application, and I've actually been looking at a lot of historic pictures from Easy Street Basin area recently. So that we all know this structure. This is it in question. You can see almost like a broken back. The contemporary back. But then if you look at these older photographs, there you go. Here's one. It's not dated, so I don't know, and I didn't see this one on NHA's website, so I'm not too sure where the applicant got it, but here it is. That was when it was, I believe, Harry Gordon, so maybe that's...
I'm losing you on the sound. Holly.
Holly, you're going in and out.
Yeah.
No sound at all, Holly.
She turned
Is
herself
that
off.
better? Is that better?
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Sorry. Sorry about that. My strength's a little bit better here on my signal. This right here, the structure, I don't know what the photo error is on here, but I believe this was when it was Harry Gordon's garage. So this has got to be at least the 40s. Maybe there's some automotive people out there that could figure it out by this bus, Island Tours. So both the HDC survey and the NHL data don't really give a significant date, but I'm assuming this is the reason why they're wanting to demolish or move. These are the photographs that they included. There it is before it became a store. And here's some older photographs that they included. There's the old Dreamland.
Yeah, so it looks like it was an empty lot actually in that other photo.
Which one?
Okay,
This one?
keep scrolling down. Other way. Keep
So
going.
this is where, this used to be the, this is right in behind it. I want to
Yeah.
say this is the structure in question. This was what Henry's was. I think that was a black.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's cool.
looking, isn't that cool? Windows.
I love it.
Great water view.
And then they included this photograph, which I'm not sure why. Although that I've seen it before, and it's a really nice photo of Easy Street. I'm not too sure.
Well, there's
And then
the
of
skipper.
course, as y'all, yeah, oh, the skipper. Railroad. I believe, yeah, that's that one with the cupola. So, I don't know if they're trying to show that it's, I don't know.
Is there any
hard
sandbar
without-
stuff?
I don't believe they included Sanborn. Oh, yes, they did. Hold on. We'll get down to that. But here it is right here. But these photographs aren't dated. So that's kind of hard when you don't date a structure.
I find it
Definitely not
ironic.
huge.
I find it ironic that
They're not
the
dated.
Bob Young has submitted these, and if he of all people should have an idea of dates.
Correct. I agree. So here's the same HDC survey. Both of them are in here as well. And then here's the Sanborn maps. I believe Emeritus is helping the owner with this application. So I believe Emeritus probably helped out. Looks like that's the location. Here. We all know.
We've lost you again, Holly.
That better?
I do know they had to go to the ZBA for a lot of relief on this building when they converted the use.
Okay. So that's it. So that is it.
Looks like something showed up there in 1923.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. On the 23 map, it looks like it's first appears.
That could also be the 1949 one because some of those are stamped 1923,
True.
but it's 1949. So
Yeah.
anybody notice any cinder blocks or anything on this thing?
I'd like to see a better assessment of the building.
Me too. I don't think we can make much of have a discussion unless we know the date of this building. Maybe just some sort of forensic work inside to look at the framing or the structure.
Yeah,
With those garage doors, I would wonder how much interior was there if it was just like open barn. I mean, from the front, it looks like it could be a house, but then with the garage doors, you wonder if the whole thing was just a shell inside.
Well, the photo with the bus shows older doors. It's got a second floor, probably an apartment or something there.
Wasn't there in 1904. I'm looking at the Sanborn map.
It doesn't look like an old historic type building. Just with that sort of that cantilevered second floor break there, that's sort of unusual for here anyway.
Angus, would you like to add anything?
If you look at the last picture before the survey, before the building structure inventory form,
Yeah.
you don't see it in that picture. Because that building with the steep peak is the background for the one with the bus. And you just don't see the structure in there. I'm you know, as the building is now, there's nothing about it that says historic or valuable or, you know, any of it. And I really wonder what's really there. And it would be great to have an as-built of it and maybe photos inside, you know, to really judge what we're looking at, because it's hard to tell from the outside.
It's not there in 1909 either.
That's all.
Right, Lucy, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, as I said before, I'd like a better assessment of the building and that lower photograph. I mean, where did that photograph come from? If that's from the NHA website, they usually have a date attached to that or something. They're, you know, an estimate of the date. I just, you know, there's not enough information. And this is right at our harbor front. We've lost enough as it is. And I understand, you know, global warming and all of that stuff. But I think we have to be very careful.
Yeah, Lucy, I believe most of these photographs did come from NHA because, like I said, I've been looking on their website for a lot of different things in the Easy Street area, and I've seen these before. I just didn't go in after the fact. I would have thought that would have been included, the dates for your assessment and the HDC's assessment.
Yeah, and
Kind
they're
of like what
not.
Linda does.
Yeah, they're not included. So that makes. I'm sorry, but it makes me a little skeptical.
All right. I think we've said our piece. We're ready to
I'd
move.
just like to add that I think that before we can really, I probably already said this, before we can really make a good firm decision, we need more historical information.
Yeah.
So I'd like to have that be researched a little better and then bring it back to us.
Just something a little more concrete than
Yes,
random context photos.
yes.
If I can add one last thing, yeah, I think MPT would be a great resource for them to go to for sort of a building history and see what we're dealing with here.
Careful with that.
All right. Ready to move on?
Yep.
All right. Linda, why are you here?
45, hold on. Gotta find my little mute thing. Oh, there it is. 45, Holbert.
Okay.
So just keep going. Luke,
Yep.
I'm not sure where Luke is yet.
I'm here.
Oh, good.
Side and rear are usually less, and then the front is usually more. I gotta double check.
Okay, I guess that's next.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, if you're on corner, you can choose your color. Yeah, but right now the house, the existing house seems like it's conforming that way.
45 Holbert Ave, existing dwelling. Linda has some extensive history here. Here, let me get that up first.
I think
Sorry, guys.
everybody got it.
Yeah, I did forward it to the advisory board as well.
Sorry about that, guys.
Sorry, guys.
So Linda, do you want to speak to this before we speak to it?
I think if Luke wants to go first, if you got any questions,
Mhm.
I can answer it, but Luke is here.
Okay, Luke, would you like to speak to this before we speak to it? You got to unmute.
You have to say it
Still
loudest.
muted.
Luke, you're
There you
muted.
go.
Can you hear
Got
me
it now.
Can you
There
hear
you
me?
go.
Okay. All right, thank you. We've done quite, with Linda's help, we've done a lot of research on this project on behalf of the history and whatnot. And what I'd like to do is break it down into 3 parts. I'd like to read our submitted general thoughts to give you an overall frame for what we're presenting. Then look at the specific building, and then look at the precedents and context and the greater history for Holbert. So if it pleases you all, I'd like to just go ahead and read the general statement. Unless you've all read it and you're all 100% zoomed in on it, I'll go ahead and read it.
I've read it, but
I've
Lucy,
read it too.
I've read it.
Mickey, you've read it? Okay.
Everyone, so would it serve you better for me not to read it?
I think we're okay to talk about it. If you want to just outline some of the basics, you know, your basic and arguments, certainly, why don't you do that?
I'm just going to go ahead and read the whole thing. For the applicant, on behalf of the applicant, we wish to demolish or remove off-site the existing dwelling with the attached garage. Once the structure is removed, a new dwelling approved by the HDC would be constructed no closer to the water than the existing structure. The Conservation Commission has approved the project as presented after consideration of the new design and proposed siting and the footprint of the structure. Maintaining the view corridor to the west was critical, which also resulted in compressing the house east to west. It should be noted that we're holding pretty precisely to the existing footprint for Concom reasoning. A previous dwelling was located on the site. It was moved in 1938 to 25 Willard Street. It was of a dissimilar architectural design. The current structure was built in 1938 or 1939. Unlike the structures that are to the east down Holbert, this lot is situated within a section of the street that has had substantial changes. 45 Holbert Avenue is in the middle of 8 lots that have all had original structures demolished or substantially altered or were vacant, and new dwellings and ancillary structures built since 1985. Our review of the material submitted clearly indicates that the structure on 45 Holbert is an anomaly. Holbert Avenue has an eclectic mix of gambrel and shingle styles with some more modern styles. There are a few box types like the existing structure, and the existing structure does not meet the guideline of building with Nantucket in mind, so we believe. There is nothing unique about the design compared to the others on the waterfront. It stands out as a looming and with no variety in the facade. Should the dwelling and the attached garage be brought before the HDC today, it likely would not be approved in our opinion. It does not have any discernible architectural style and thus is not architecturally significant, nor does it contribute to the neighborhood. Admittedly, it is over 50 years old, but that should not be the determining factor in requiring a structure to remain on site. There is little ability to work with the structure to improve it. Gambrel structures are more prevalent in the Brand Point area than elsewhere on the island. The new design would be in harmony with the neighborhood's context and typical of the architecture in Brant Point. It will be lower in height of several of the structures on the waterfront. The proposed design would have a less negative visual impact than the current structure with the lower eaves that are currently in contrast to the vertical wall planes of the existing structure. Proposed decks and fenestration on the water side in particular would be consistent with the other structures fronting on the harbor, as shown in the photographs. The configuration north to south is also consistent with a substantial number of structures on the waterfront. Data on the lots along Holbert Avenue, photographs of those structures, aerials of the existing shoreline, and reports on several of the lots that have had demolition occur are included in the packet for your review. We're looking forward to working with HEC on arriving at the best design for a new dwelling for 45 Holbert Avenue. That would be an asset for the neighborhood. I would just note that the island survey that accompanies this, I identified it as a contributing structure and called it out as a shingle style, which I believe was in error because based on my understanding of shingle style and studying shingle style in college, this has no resemblance to shingle style architecture or any of the redeeming attributes to shingle style architecture. Shingle style architecture, primarily in the late 1800s, had a lot of low roofs. They had tower elements to them, gang windows, bay windows. They had a horizontality to them often, second floor open decks. Again, I think this has not been accurately presented on that survey as a shingle style. I just don't understand how it could possibly be contributing as a shingle style building. So I'll just ask you to keep that in consideration. That you're looking at right now, Holly, was the house that moved from the house originally. Yeah, that was the original house in 1939 that got moved and made way for the new house. The new house was built by the same, it's been in the family for some time, since 1939, the same owners have had it. And he came in and brought in just more floor space basically, and totally, tried from a two-story standpoint. He basically pretty aggressively maxed out his, his second floor. In fact, his second floor program is it's actually sort of greater than ours on the existing mass. But what I suppose I'd like to, before I hand it over to Linda, I would like to just point out that this building, as it currently exists, again, it provides no horizontality, which is one of the most beneficial elements to building new structures on Nantucket. It's two-story, almost at that one particular, that particular elevation there. That vertical wall, there's almost no equal to it from a residential standpoint on Nantucket, and it certainly is. It's not architecturally pleasing, certainly in my opinion. So basically, to go back to the point of whether or not this building would be approvable as an attached garage on the front, very chaotic window locations and sizing, unbalanced elevations on every side. I would put to you that it certainly would not be approvable today. And with that, I would hand it over our context of what's happened on Holbert, and maybe some more comments from Linda, who's done a really great job of researching the history of the street and this property in general.
Hey guys, if you got it, you got it. So you were able to sort of get a grip on what we put in. After I did that map, there was one or two more that had been demolished and replaced, but you can see that we're in a section of Holbert Avenue, unlike the section to the east of 37, down to 1 on Holbert Avenue. Down in that direction, you're familiar with the Craig property and a few of the other ones. A lot of those houses are still there, some with minimal alterations, but even the Craig house, it was one structure and it was separated into two structures on two separate lots. So even that has been changed. And some of the ones that are still there have been altered substantially. If you looked at the pictures of Johnson & Johnson's house down at 73, I believe, that was a much smaller house, a beautiful house. And then they engulfed it with all kinds of decks and additions and everything else. And they moved that 50 feet farther forward. So even Hammy Hurd's house to the right of our house there with the new shingles on the roof, that was significantly damaged in the 1991 flood, and that was altered quite a great deal. The large one to the right has been minimally altered, of Hammy Hurd's house down to the right of the picture. So there's been a lot of change in this neighborhood, including across the street where there was nothing. And they all started to get built and houses were moved around over there. The gambrel style, as Luke said, is quite common down here. And it's very eclectic. The one at 47 to the left in that picture is a very interesting looking house from the water and the road. It doesn't look like anybody else. And you'll see dormers and additions, and not all of them have attached garages. In fact, most of the ancillary structures are separated and actually front on Holbert Avenue. But we're in a pod of about 7 to 8 structures with a little gap to the left, and then 3 more were demolished, and that were all gone. I mean, people have sort of assumed that everything down there dates from 1890s, 1920s, and they don't. Our original structure moved over to 25 Willard, and there are pictures in your packet of that, which is a totally dissimilar type of structure. But you can see from this picture right here how boxy, and there's no discerning architectural style. It looks like 2 really tiny houses that were stuck together with an intermediate structure of some sort. And we'd like to just make something that's maybe even as eclectic as the rest of them down there, or something that fits into the neighborhood more. And the Concom was very clear about that space to the left there, about maintaining the open space there. I believe that's a public access also, down to the beach that the town preserved. So the Concom saw it twice, wanted to see the design, and then they okayed it with a couple of minimal conditions. And you can see how wide this thing is. And that's pretty much all I have to add right now. That if you have any questions about the report or anything else on here, let me know. I spent probably 20 hours researching every single property from number 1, which is a replacement house. Number 3 is a replacement house. The one across at 2 is that big gambrel that HDC just approved right on the corner and got rid of that house. So it's a changing neighborhood. It still maintains its sort of eclectic oceanfront estate kind of attitude, but this house really doesn't do it. Yeah, see the other house down there? That's where that house went. And what's interesting about trying to date the houses from down there, unless you look, camera maps don't always do justice down there, is that when they can't figure out the date of a house, the GIS in the town records automatically puts 1900 on it, even though some of these houses like Johnson & Johnson's house clearly predate 1900, clearly, because there's pictures of it in 1880. When they don't know how old these houses are, they just throw 1900 on it and move on. So it takes a lot of research of all these surveys, the aerials, the deeds, the old land court plans to come up with a history of every single house all the way down Hobart. I've had to do the same thing on Easton. I don't ever want to go to Brant Point again. But here you go. That's a good picture of what it looks like. So if anybody has any questions, I'm here.
All right. Who would like to go first? Mickey?
Okay, this is an 82-year-old building. You know, and to be honest, so far, I haven't heard any real strong arguments why this should be demoed. You're saying that it's not very attractive and that it's not a shingle style, and I'm not sure those are relevant comments to whether we should be demoing a building or not. It doesn't appear to be structurally a problem, and I just don't feel that the HDC should be sanctioning demolishing 82-year-old buildings. 1938 is a very relevant period. I'm pretty uncomfortable with the demolition on this building. I think if they wanted to work with it, which I think is the right thing to do, is to keep the building and modify it.
Oh,
It's not my job, but I'm just saying, I think that it could be, I think before you just come in with a full demo in a brand new building, that it needs to be reviewed in terms of what can be, how it can be modified, upgraded. I wouldn't mind seeing some changes to it, but the full demo, I just haven't heard any good arguments why it should be demoed.
Can I speak to that to some extent?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, so basically, one of the things we presented to the Conservation Commission, and I'm sure, Mickey, you understand what happens to buildings when you work on a building and an owner wants to significantly change its interiors. To start, in order to do anything to this building, it would trigger the move of a lift. So it would automatically come up, I think about 1.75 feet in the air in order to provide a new foundation. The current foundation has been deemed, which is a mixed bag of you can look at my foundation plan. It's a mixed bag of piers, that aren't held together with steel, because back in those days they weren't using steel and piers. The engineer that initially looked at it said that it would have to be completely replaced. So that the foundation would be completely replaced, and the existing building lifted up in the air. And it's at elevation 8.6, as you can see there. And according to our Blackwell, who we're working with, it's going to be required to be lifted up to a finished floor of 10.25. So automatically, this ridge height, which is, if you average the grade, is about 29.75 off the grade, it's going to end up being 31.5 feet. It's going to end up being 31.5 feet high. So I would ask you to keep that in mind. So already its harsh impact is going to become greater if someone was to choose to work with it. But based on the client's interior program and hopes to bring everything up to modern standards, as you know, everyone likes to do, in terms of anticipating the next 100 years, they're bringing the entire structure up to a higher level of structural integrity to meet the current codes, changing door and window openings. I mean, if you look at the door and window openings of this building, I mean, it's sort of I don't know, it seems to me to be impractical to think that a homeowner would want to stick with it the way it is. But so to your first point, that's, it's the owner's choice to, basically in terms of programming and how we lay out the interiors to determine whether or not the interiors are going to work for them. And in this case, the owners have said it wouldn't. And structurally, again, it's going to come up in the air another foot and a half. Yeah, we could scissor everything up. We could, by the existing, you all know what happens as people change door and window openings, the fabric just starts disappearing, or the original fabric. And so I suppose to your point, and I'll just end by saying that's sort of where we are on those thoughts, Mickey.
Mickey, can I have one more comment about that?
Yes.
Town council, because none of you are on the HDC, when we would have these organizational meetings that would go on and on and on. Town council some years ago came down and said, you cannot hold a structure based solely on 50 years. He said it has to be architecturally significant or contributing architecturally, not because of the age and not because it's over 50 years old and gets that contributing moniker put on it. He was very clear about that. What we don't have to do is we can always ask to demolish or move, But we don't, you have to provide a reason to deny that. And it cannot be just based on 50 years. It has to be based on its architectural significance to a particular setting. And we're taking the position that it is not architecturally significant to this particular setting. And we don't have to provide an argument as to why we want to get rid of it. But we want to get rid of it, to be blunt. But what would be the reason to maintain it? Is it architecturally significant? It cannot be based solely on the fact that it's 50 years or more.
Thank you, Linda. Angus, would you like to speak?
There's been an extensive amount of research about the neighborhood. I received the email this morning, and it's 40 pages of documents. I really wish the energy had gone into historic photos or pictures of this house. It would be interesting to know what it looked like when it was built, what alterations have happened over the years and when.
There weren't any that I could find, except for aerials. And it had nothing, absolutely nothing has happened to it since it was built. It was built exactly as you see it today.
Yeah, I've spoken to the owner. It's been in the same ownership for 100 years, or whatever years. And virtually the guy that built it as it is, and they haven't really changed the exterior at all.
So I'd like to agree with Mickey on this. I just don't see any reasoning in demolishing straight out a historic structure. It's as you've shown, it is unique in that neighborhood, and if that's part of the stipulation of the preservation of a historic property, I think you've kind of proven the point just in showing that this is unique. It's different than the other things. It's not what any of us would design now for that spot, but that's what they designed back in 38 or 39, whenever it was. My other concern is that unfortunately, systemically, people want new construction designs, and they do it where there's a historic property, and that just, we've got to just stop that. I mean, you can't go into a 200-year-old house or a 100-year-old house and want a new house. I mean, you're buying an old property, and people have made improvements for years, but this is systemically destroying, whole interiors. And I know that's not the purview of the HTC, but just because someone wants a different interior, I don't think gives them the entitlement to destroy a historic property. So I basically agree with everything Mickey said.
Can I have one quick comment on this?
Sure, Linda.
I have to go back to the fact that I think 4 houses to the west, 2 houses to the east, and then you could jump a couple and then more than that. All of those older structures, some predating this one, were allowed to be demolished. None of them moved. They were demolished. And that was all since 1985. So we're not talking a long, long time ago. We're not talking 40s and 50s where things happened. We're talking that those structures to the east and west of this one, and then more to the west and more to the east beyond the immediate abutters, all were allowed to be demolished after 1985. And the HDC was in existence in 1985. They were in existence in 1970s. They were in existence back to the middle of the 50s. And a lot of this change has occurred since 1985. So again, we don't have to tell you why we want to change it. That's not required under the Act. We're asking to change it, to get rid of it, and to put something that we feel is more architecturally appropriate for the neighborhood. And and we're making the case that there is nothing architecturally significant about this structure, particularly given the precedent east and west of this structure. and we're sticking to it.
All right, Linda, are you done?
Yeah.
All right. Lucy, would you like to say something?
Yes, I would. Just because there've been a lot of changes in the neighborhood, makes me feel that, makes me feel that it's more of a reason that this structure should stay. And the town council, he's a lawyer, he's not an architect, and architecturally significant. Yeah, this might be significant in not great design of the era. Also, to lift it, to put in a new foundation, the height would be increased. But looking at the plans for the new structure, I believe that that would be about in the same height range. And I agree with Angus. You know, if you decide to live in an old house, you live in an old house. If you want a new house, go to Cisco or somewhere else. I just think that, you know, maybe this isn't a beautiful building by our standards, certainly, but it's an example of old-timey Holbert Avenue. And I just hate to see another building with, you know, just gobs of white trim, just massive stuff. Well, that's it.
All right. Well,
Brooke, before you begin, can I add one thing?
sure thing, Angus.
Just speaking to the point of the foundation and the height, Nantucket and its waterfront properties are having to deal with this. And I hope all of you are planning on joining for the resiliency program that we're having. As far as how do we deal with rising seas, because they are happening, flooding's happening. You could see that in the earlier application on Easy Street. So we are having to raise buildings, but that doesn't mean they have to be eliminated. And there are plenty of buildings that are completely intact that we lift up, put a new foundation in, and bring them back down intact. So I don't think that that's any reason to completely demolish a building.
All right.
I'll tell you what,
Luke?
you know, I've worked on 86 Main Street. I've worked on 84 Main Street. I'm really quite tuned into what preservation values are. And I've been studying architecture since I was 18. I've been on this island for 30 years. My personal opinion is this what you guys are doing here is you're basing it only on age. There's nothing architecturally significant about this, but with the exception of a sentimental background.
Okay, let's not go down that path. Let's, I think we've all spoken our piece. We're a narrative board. And I think that we've made our case and our opinions known. And I think we can move on unless there are any objections.
Brooke, I didn't hear what your opinion about this was. Do you agree with the consensus?
Honestly, it's tough because, yeah, it's definitely not attractive. But it also, like, again, and I am going to play the sentimental card here, because I spent a lot of time at this house as a kid. And you know, there's just a lot going on in this building. There's more there than meets the eye with this structure. So it's hard for me to look at it as anything other than that. So that's why I've been kind of reluctant to express my feelings about it. So, but that's it.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. I think we can move on to the next application.
Well, there's a replacement house. Did you want to discuss that, or?
Let's see. Would you all like to take a look at it?
I only have one
Yeah, I
comment.
would think
Lucy, go ahead.
Well, it's not architectural But I did notice that that the driveway is made a lot smaller than it was before. But you've got all these bedrooms. And my only concern is that there's a public access right there to the beach, which I myself use in the winter regularly. And that street parking to utilize that beach access is going to be diminished.
All right, Lucy, what are you speaking to?
The new building for Holbert Avenue.
Okay, so we do want to open this then. Is that,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just opened it.
okay, all right.
Well, I
Mickey,
can take that back if you don't want to.
no, that's all right. Mickey, would you like to speak to this?
Well, I guess I might ask Holly, if this is, the HDC has to review this demolition application.
It's loading slowly.
And, if it's denied, and who knows if it will or not, that's not up to us. I'm just wondering if we're maybe wasting our time right now talking about the new building. I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I'm just wondering if there's time in the process that once the demo has been approved, then we can come back and look at this building.
Well, we'd like some guidance.
Chair, to
right
answer-
now.
Hang on, Linda, would you like to say something?
Well, we just like some, guidance on this right now, so we don't have to, we can just do everything at one time, but we'd like your opinions on the design. If there's something glaring, then we can change it.
Well, I have a question. Is if the HDC approves a demo, are they going to go right on to the new building and then
Yes.
we won't have a chance?
Yes.
That's why I want you to sort of weigh in now if there's something really egregious going on here that you have a comment on.
Yeah, and I think.
Mr. Chair, to that point, it would be my recommendation to give comments on this application because we don't know which way the HDC is going to go.
Okay.
I'm in agreement. All right, Angus, would you like to speak to this building? The design only?
I can.
I,
Go ahead.
okay. I don't think it's a bad looking building. And I would say that, it's at a higher, it's starting off higher as it would need to meet current codes. I would pay closer attention to the examples of that are actually, I think they're cited on this application for the like there was a HDC approval that was used an example. I don't know if you can pull that up, Holly, but it shows a waterside view of a gambrel with the dormers. This feels monolithic on the north face as proposed, whereas the example, yes, that one, that example, there's depth, there's push, there's pull, it's broken up so that there's a projection out on a lower part and then pushing back on an upper part, and there's
A little more variety.
I think you want to do the same thing with this new proposal. In the dormers are smaller. They still have 3 balconies on this, but it's not all in the same plane. And I think it's much more successful than what's proposed. So I would go with smaller dormers and break them up. I would do a little bit more push and pull with the rear facade.
Waterside.
Waterside.
Okay. Just to point out, that is a consistent ridge where they have varieties. That right-hand sunroom pulled out. That used to be part of the porch.
Thank you, Linda. Linda, hang on. Holly, you had said you wanted to speak to weigh in.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and that's actually perfect from how Angus, because I was going to say the same thing. With this example, with respect to the gambrel, and I wouldn't disagree that a gambrel is very, I think, consistent with the way Brant Point has been going. And there's precedent provided with this photograph, obviously. But the new design with incorporating, I understand from Concom, they have to keep the same footprint, but the new design in this L shape scenario is not set in a precedent like this gambrel is. As well as I just want to point out too that, as we all know, each HDC board can be different from one aspect to the other, from one approval to the other. And I get the intention again to retain the same type of footprint, but this first view of it is, it seems massive with having that that front protrusion instead of having one longer, or maybe even make it just a little bit more unique instead of having to keep, I don't know, it's just something about having it stick out towards Holbert is not jiving with my intentions. But anyway.
Again, it's pretty much where the L is for that attached garage on the current one, which isn't attractive either.
All right, so Mr. Rowland, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Angus's concern about the north elevation on the water side. I think that it's too consistently, you know, the ridge is essentially one long ridge. The other aspects, the other floors are broken up right down the middle. It's sort of like two pieces, two buildings stuck together. What I liked about the other example that was presented is that it had more of a central feeling, you know, a central focus to the building rather than just, you know, long windows and porches and dormers and decks. The roof walk was off to the side. It doesn't even really feel like a main mass where the roof walk is from that side. Like it could be more of a central focus rather than just a broad structure. On the front side facing Holbert Avenue, that perspective view shows this pretty well. Holly, can you go back to that?
It's up. Go up.
This one?
Perspective. First, front page.
Right there.
Oh,
Up.
yeah.
Just up a little bit. That's the street side. Go right there. No, yes, right there.
Now go up go up to the perspective that shows this side view.
The
Yeah.
footprint or the side?
Keep going up. I think it's near the front main sheet.
Ah. Sorry.
A 0.0.
Here we go. Zoom in on that. Yeah. So look at,
It's to the right. Holly, move it over to the right.
Getting there, it's slow.
Yeah.
so the front door, you know,
That's the front door right there.
I see it. So it's not, you know, the front door should be a real focus. It should be the main event on the front of this building. It should be in the main mass with a real central focus and importance to it. This to me feels like it's not in the main mass. It's on the projection. It just feels like it's an afterthought, and it should be, you know, it should have more relevance. You know, I don't mind necessarily the projection toward the street, but I'm not sure the front door belongs there. The front door should be in the, you know, maybe addressing Hobart Avenue a little bit more formally. And this, I mean, these pieces fit together, but it doesn't give a real central, like, even sort of additive mass to it. It has just sort of a jumble of gambrels stuck together. I wish it had, you know, more of a importance to the main structure with some subordinate side pieces, especially the ones coming toward Holbert Avenue.
Mickey, are you familiar with Hammy Hurd's building, which is like 4 buildings to the east? which
Yeah.
is a gambrel of almost exactly this kind of additive mass, quote unquote, additive mass with gambrels. Go take, if you get down to Holbert Avenue, take a ride over and take a real close look at Hammy Hurd's building. This is very reminiscent of what Hammy's looks like.
Well,
Obviously, he doesn't own it anymore, but that's basically the same thing.
I'll take a look, but I'm still sticking with what I'm saying, that I think the front door needs to have much better presence than that presents.
Or prominence.
Could I make a quick comment?
Sure.
Yes, Luke, go ahead.
I understand what you're saying, Mickey. You know, if you look at the restrictions, the 50-foot restriction line, you know, you know, the HCC approved the building number 43 right next door, and it was pretty similar in terms of like in its entirety, in terms of like a mass, you know, a significant mass coming towards the street, and you know, the door being sort of in a porch roof in front of the main mass. And so this example, I understand from a sort of a purity standpoint your position, but my thought would be that, you know, sure, we could like take that front door, we could push it all the way back to the main mass, and who's to say though, from an additive massing standpoint in the future, since everything we're doing is sort of like suggesting that over time certain things happen.
Yep.
This presentation that I'm putting here is the concept of a porch that may have had a front door on the main mass at one point that ended up getting filled in, the door shifted out. And this is how the additive massing, you know, has often happens over some of our favorite buildings over time. Originally, the entire concept behind this is that the Widow's Walk was on the original primary mass, and then it grew from there. And again, our limitations in footprint were such that we had, you know, no wiggle room. The limitation of our, you know, this building is only like 25 or even less feet tall if you take it above the floodplain. You know, and you know, one of the disadvantages of bringing a new building into, you know, floodplain environments is, you know, you have to sort of counter, you know, the added 6 feet of height that we're basically coming up to the front door. If this building was on the ground on its own, it would, you know, you know, and sitting on the ground 6 feet lower, it would be a significantly of lesser impact in terms of, you know, your thoughts of it all seeming so sort of big. But again, it goes back to the point of we're stuck in this sort of environment of having all new buildings and old buildings getting lifted up, and we're stuck with this in our case, close to 6 feet above the, you know, the ground level. That's something we're trying to do in terms of, you know, creating lower, you know, eave lines and trying to do our best to like bring the eye down.
Well, I hear you, Luke. I know what you're saying about the height and all of that. I'm going to go back to the front door and the main mass. I feel like they've been, if you're saying that mass where the roof walk was originally the main mass, it's completely obliterated by that wing toward the street. I'm looking at just right there, the footprint drawing there. Can't you somehow shift make the central portion on the water side where the roof walk is centered in that area?
Yeah.
Drop to either side and pull the front door over to the left further so it still faces the street and still looks like it's in the main mass.
I think those are doable. But what we really wanted to know is nobody really has a problem with the fact that it's gambrel, correct?
I'm okay with that. It works for
Trails
height.
are fairly common in that area. I think there's some things that are happening in the gambrel that I would prefer not to happen, like dormers projecting further than the roof plane, especially in the back. And I think Mickey has a really good point. There's a lack of hierarchy here. The two front masses are so close in size that it feels like one, in which case you make it one and you center the roof walk in the middle of it and you center the door on that, or, you know, they're cues, but it's like, too much of it is a similar scale. So it reads as three similar boxes. And when you look at the perspectives, you know, you look at the southwest perspective, and if you blur your eyes, you see the mass on either side and the deck in the middle, and it looks kind of right, and the door in the middle, but that's a perspective. And the same with the northwest perspective. That's when it really is obvious that it looks lopsided. It looks like, you know, it's one continuous roof plane with the roof deck all the way off to one side. So if the idea is that northeast corner was the original part of the house, I would step the west addition back, or do something so that there's it looks subordinate.
That's what they have. The picture of the other house has that the east wing stepped back. So you were looking for the same type of step back.
I could do that. What I did was I thought more people would be viewing it from Holbert Avenue, so that's why I stepped it back on the southwest side, on Holbert side. So if you look at the Holbert side, I've got a step back, but I didn't do it on the northwest side because, but you know, maybe the whole thing shifts to your points that, you know, if the water side's more important, you know, maybe one idea is to shift the whole thing, you know, back the other way, which would give you a, you know, more of a continuous roof plane on the left side. Sorry, on the Holbert side. I mean, that's I could do that.
I think the long and short of it is that that we would want to see revisions back afterwards, and I think that there's consensus here that we don't really see, even if there's a long history of historic buildings being removed from this neighborhood, that hopefully this won't be another one. But if this design is what is brought forward, we need to see it back.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Thank you, Lucy. All right.
And Mr. Chair, can I
yeah.
just make I know we got a lot on the agenda, but I just want to make a point to this whole discussion about FEMA. And trust me, as the local hazard mitigation plan coordinator for the town, I understand. However, that's the whole reason why we're working with creating design guidelines specifically to be sensitive to our historic integrity. And there are exemptions for historic structures for elevation purposes to accommodate flooding. So that's where we're working on. So that way people don't think they have to completely get rid of, say, a pristine basement just, you know, in order to accommodate flood proofing, wet proofing, what have you. I just wanted to throw that out there that just because they say you have to do this, our design guidelines are going to be more flexible with our National Historic Landmark. So stay tuned.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll be able to you know, make it a little more accommodating for everybody for our historic and built environment, so people don't think they have to just completely tear down existing and build new. So I'm getting off my soapbox now, Brooke.
Okay, thanks. All right, so my feelings are that you know, a building in this area, I think there's an opportunity to do a little bit more here, just design-wise. You know, this is generally it's appropriate. Generally, I don't mind the gambrel, but I feel like you know, this is if you're going to knock down a building, put something there that's I feel, you know, maybe speaks a little bit more to the shingle style history of the area. So that's one like big theme. And the other theme, I'm going to go back, just touch briefly on the demo. You have a building which I believe the footprint is actually larger than this that's existing. You know, why not knock the top off of that other building and build what you want on top of that old set of walls? Or, you know, at least maybe reconsider using some of those existing walls. You can change the form even. But again, I feel like it's, you know, you could take advantage of a situation there and do the right thing at the same time. So those are just my two thoughts on this. And otherwise, I'm ready to close things out.
Ask you a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm not sure your other members would be on board. Are you saying that if we were to work the existing structure, but to basically put a new roof on it and, which is essentially what we're doing, but it's all new. Putting a new foundation, or changing doors and window openings, and you would be okay with me putting a new roof on whatever remains, and in that case, we're
Oh, as long as it's not comically, comic lip service to the whole process. Yeah, I think that would be something that I personally would feel good about.
What's interesting, Brooke, is that a lot of times people will play that game, and they did at the Concom with one out in Wauwinet, where they left like 2 square feet
Yeah.
because they wanted that setback, and they played that game and they got rid of the structure and they got basically a whole new structure.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to do that in this case because the Concom allowed us to remove and replace in roughly the same setback from the bulkhead.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very different. Normally people leave walls in order to keep their setbacks from the coastal bank or the water.
Yeah.
And in this case, the Concom said, yeah, you can take it away and put it back in the same place, no closer, but the same place. So we're in a little better position with the Concom than a lot of people are when they have to leave a wall just to masquerade as an addition.
And just, again, this is just my own curiosity. I'd love to see like just the outline of the existing structure laid over the
Yeah,
elevations
Okay.
of this building, just to kind of get a sense of, a before and after situation, what it's going to do to that volume of space.
Okay.
If you were to look at my cover sheet, I think I have an existing existing site plan and proposed site plan on it.
I can't wait till we're not on Zoom anymore.
Can we move on?
I have the drawing up here, so I'm looking at it already.
Do you want them laid over each other as opposed to side by side?
Well, hang on a second. I just want to I can virtually, there's basically the existing building is about 6 inches back on the north side.
Yeah.
And it's about a foot moved to the west, moved to the east. So the main mass is basically essentially with it completely over the existing mass area. And then in terms of where the garage area is, we have built, we are conforming now. We're no longer in the zoning setback on the east side.
Yeah.
We've infilled to the 50-foot setback. Otherwise, it's virtually, so I can't remember the exact number of extra ground cover we have, but it's extremely small. It's just what was in that 50-foot fill-in area.
Okay. All right. I'm ready to close. Anybody, any objections? All right. Great. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Luke.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, so this is 14 Harborview Way, also known to me at least, probably everybody else, the Stillers property on the corner of Harborview and Wall Street.
No more.
I know. So there's nothing to the structure. It's a brick walkway, and this is all we have. This photograph and this little sketch. Not too sure what the intention is. Looks like a brick walkway to middle of nowhere. I don't know, maybe for their ADA. I don't know. That's all I know.
Where's the plan?
But
Again,
this-
show them the plan. The site plan. There we go.
Is this one of yours, Linda?
I'm working for these guys on a realm of issues. I believe Luke is going to be coming back in with an addition. This young family just bought it. And I believe they wanted to run the walkway towards the back into, what is that, Mackey Way?
Yeah. And
Or
why?
everything is back there.
Is this going to be a driveway?
No. It's only 3 feet wide and about 15 feet long from the gated yard to the back. I believe that the garage comes in from the back side.
All right, Lucy, would you like to start?
Yeah, I watched last winter as a Nantucket Fence did all the fencing and everything else, and wondered why they didn't continue the fence down there. I don't get this. You either, that's a double gate, I believe there.
Yeah.
I just understand it. Either you come out of the gate and you hang a right out to the sidewalk, or you walk on the grass. Or you extended the fence all the way down to the corner. It looks weird. It looks like it's going to be parking.
It's 3 feet wide.
It's like a double sidewalk. So I say no.
Angus?
I don't think it's appropriate. I think it's aberrant. Like what's it doing there? I don't think it makes any sense visually or practically.
Mickey? Unmute.
Sorry. Okay, I agree with what they were saying. It doesn't make much sense to me. It seems very redundant to have this next to the sidewalk. Why is it even needed? Maybe if they have a better explanation for it, I might consider it, but I doubt it. It just seems too much more brick in that. Why is it there?
I certainly agree.
I'll find out. I didn't put this one in, so I was sort of surprised to see it on here so soon.
Looks like a lot of brick for no reason.
Okay, I'll find out what the reason is.
All right, thank you. I'd like to close this and move to the next. Any objections?
No.
All right,
Thanks, guys.
thank you, Linda. All right. So 17 Lincoln Ave, move building and modify.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
Every single application that we've had so far, there's been no building gate filled in.
Yep, I know.
And there's no excuse. These people know better.
It's
I
pretty
wish I
easy
had a
to-
good answer for you there, but I don't. I'm just as frustrated as you, trust me.
I mean, technically, it's incomplete. Okay, that's it.
All right. So we are moving a building and modifying this building.
And to your point, Lucy, yes, there's nothing here. Trust me, I get it. It irritates me. And I think the structure is older than what the tax assessor is showing it as. The NHL data says it's 1909. If it's the same.
Yeah.
structure.
We have no photographs.
It's not.
No, there's no photographs.
This is a new building.
This is new? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know when that one was
90s or.
demolished. How new is that with that style?
It's pretty new.
Wow. Okay.
I'd say 90s.
Okay, well then that's consistent with what they were saying. Okay.
All right.
I guess they're moving.
Angus, would you like to speak to this first? Are you ready?
Thank you. I'll wait.
You'll hold?
I'll hold.
You'll hold. Mickey, would you like to speak?
Sure. I don't think the move in that location, I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's going to be very noticeable. In terms of the window changes, they're adding some shutters, sort of a front porch. Getting rid of that sort of that balustrade along the front. I almost like it better. They're getting rid of some transom windows, I think, over windows. I don't, yeah, in the back. I think it's an improvement. Haven't seen anything that I object to.
Lucy, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'll go with Mickey.
All right. Angus?
If you look at the locust plan and look at all the houses around the circle, they generally are set pretty far off the road. So it gets my attention that it's getting even closer
Yep.
to the road. So that seems atypical up there. And honestly, I like the charm of some of the icing that is on this cake before the proposals. I think it's just, instead of just another house that looks like another house, there's some elements that make it stand out, including the balustrade and the fan light and so forth. So I actually prefer it the way it was. None of it's glaring to me, but I kind of prefer where it is and what it is.
All right. So I would lean towards Mr. McLeod on this one. I kind of like the smaller lights on the window panes on the original design. It feels more like a shingle style structure. Overall, is this like a big deal? Maybe not. I think having a building that massive move closer to the street, might be a little bit of a, little bit of a visual encumbrance when you're up there. But it's, I could equivocate either way, but I definitely lean towards Mr. McLeod.
I think, that bringing up the point of the other houses in the neighborhood, which I wasn't focusing on, I think is a good point. So I think the move is a little detrimental. So I'll go back in that direction.
Okay. All right. Lucy, have you spoken? I forgot.
No,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
fine with what everybody else said.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right. If there are no more comments, I'd like to close this and move on. All right, let's move on to 17 Lincoln Avenue pool with auto cover.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to start.
Mr. McLeod, would you please take it away?
Due to lack of visibility, I don't have any issues with it.
Lucy?
Are you required to have fencing with a automatic cover?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think so.
I think if you have an auto cover, you don't need fencing. You need to
Is that
alarm
right, Holly?
it, so.
I'm pretty sure you can just have the auto cover and no fencing.
Well, maybe, Holly, could you note on there that if there is to be any fencing, that it has to come up for approval? Thank you.
And Mickey, did you speak?
I'm okay with it. I see it behind to the garage, the hedge beside it. I don't think it's going to be very visible.
All right. For the most part, I don't think this will be visible. I do think that I would like to have some kind of visual break between the garage and the building. You can probably look down this parking area at some point, like maybe even during the winter time when that privet hedge has lost all its leaves or the deer have eaten it down to nubs, and you'll be able to look in and see the pool. I wouldn't mind seeing some kind of more permanent screen than a vegetation screen between the garage and the house. But otherwise, I'm fine.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I'd also like to know where the AC units are for everything.
Okay. All right. If there are no further comments, I'd like to close this and move on. All right. Next, application 10 Delaney Road, Lot C, new dwelling.
I'll just start talking while this is loading. So you all are familiar with Tony Yates's property, former property up there off of Delaney. That's what this is. And it's been turned into a 3-lot subdivision, AR subdivision. Board approval. This is the last. Sorry, this is the pool. This is the last lot at the end of this little new cul-de-sac called Reliance Way.
Holly, I can't hear you.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
It's frustrating. I'm hanging on every word, but it's like I'm getting every fifth word.
Sorry, Angus.
All right. Lucy, do you have any thoughts? Would you like to start?
No, no, go ahead. Someone else.
All right. Angus?
Can I wait? I need to look at this for a minute.
All right. Mickey, you want to wait and look?
No, I got a couple comments.
All right.
So generally, I don't mind this sort of the massing or but the massing and the scale of this isn't so bad. The couple of concerns though, that on the west elevation, there's an asymmetrical gable that bothers me. And also, when you look at the front of the building, which is facing south, I'm generally okay with that. But now when you look, you see that gable facing forward where the main mass is, and you look to the east, you can see that the proportions of that main mass, to me, feel a little backwards. It almost looks wider than it is deep. You know, it just seems like the gable's running the wrong way, or maybe just the proportions are wrong. You see what I mean by that? Compare the south and the east.
Is that because of the eave lines being higher?
Well, I mean, I don't know what the dimensions are. Maybe they're here on the drawing. 24 wide and 20.5 deep. The ridge is running the short way rather than the long way.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, maybe that could be fixed. I think another sort of, there's a lot of telescoping going on. There's the west elevation has, 4 sections to it. Maybe the first 2 could be combined and that would sort of solve my issue. It just seems, it doesn't feel quite right because of those proportions.
Angus?
I agree with those comments. It's a little bit confusing on these drawings. When you look at the north elevation,
The drawing error.
you see the 3 gables? And it's, uh, yeah, it's just a bit confusing because the overlap of the gables
Mhm.
doesn't seem like it's consistent when you look at the east and west elevations that the, the, the main gable looks like it's proud of the next one towards the center of the house in both drawings, which would make the, you know, the gable, you know, proud of both. So in that view, it would be, you know, showing the whole way through, but it's showing that it's cut off. Uh, it's just, I'm not sure that the drawing is accurate. But also I have the same concern about the west elevation and how the gable's uneven. And then there are those little walls that are like, you know, 1.5 stories tall, but only, you know, 1.5 feet wide. I would tend to agree with the comments that maybe the middle portion just joins the larger one. And then, but it's like there are two that are very similar in height, but not quite exact. Yeah, I would make that second gable adjacent to where that front door is in the east elevation, lower or higher, or do something. And I'd like to see it back.
Lucy, would you like to add anything?
I find the design confusing. That's all I'll say.
All right.
I'd like to see it back.
All right. All right, Chair agrees certainly with Lucy. I do feel that it's a little bit confusing to the eye trying to figure out what stuff is going what way. I think that, you know, the natural, like for me anyway, my eye wants to see on the east elevation that primary mass have a gable facing me on the east elevation and an eave line facing south with this particular design. Or if you're going to run a gable, you know, absorb that that secondary mass on the east elevation and add a dormer, or just something that's it's a little bit chaotic in terms of its massing. Plus, it looks like the windows kind of go up and down a little bit too. But normally that stuff doesn't bother me. But in this instance, it doesn't seem to have a rhyme or reason. All right. Anything further? All right. Then I will close this application and move to the pool with the auto cover at 17 Lincoln Avenue.
You did that.
We did that.
Oh, sorry.
Going the other way.
And Delaney.
Pools. 10 Delaney. With the pool.
Yeah, I'll say no. Where are the AC units again, too?
Okay. Where are the AC units?
That's right.
Any, Angus, you want to speak to this?
I don't think, I mean, I would be nice to have some site pictures, but I don't think that this is going to be visible. So I don't have, I really don't have an issue with that.
All right. Mickey?
Same here. I mean, you have to, I'm not even sure where Reliance Way is. It's probably a new road. I'm looking at the Google Maps. I don't even see it, but it's.
Yeah, it's not on Google yet. This is the same property. This is the old Tony Yates property that was
Yeah.
subdivided into 3 different lots off of Delaney. So this used to be 10 Delaney, and now Reliance Way. So it's the last lot.
Yeah, I think it's fairly hidden deep in there.
Lucy?
You got the pool equipment back there, or that's just gonna be plunked on the ground, or how's that gonna be treated? Or is that gonna be fenced in with AC units? Oh, okay, I see AC over there on the side now. But if there is no fencing, I don't think neighbors should have to look at your pool or your AC units, pool equipment.
There is a fence.
Looks like the pool equipment's gonna be right here, so that should be.
Yeah.
We don't know how tall that fence, that existing slat fence is.
I think most of this is invisible. So regardless of our pet peeves, I think that it meets the basic criteria that the HDC sets. Any further comments?
No.
All right. I'd like to close this. And let's see, 19 Lincoln Ave, remove a roof walk.
So this is not a historic structure. I got circa 1994. And although it's not a historic structure, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks.
You're fading.
Remove.
Fading.
Sorry, guys. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yes.
Is that better? Okay. So although this is not a historic structure, the facade looks funny without, in my opinion, without the roof walk. And maybe it's due to the length of the ridge. But in my opinion, it looks a little odd. But other than that, that's my comment.
Lucy, would you like to?
I agree with Holly. I think she's right.
All right, Mickey?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it that way, but I agree too. I think it's too long a ridge to sit without
Yeah.
anything.
Angus?
I agree with Holly. That's my concern too. I actually drove by here the other day and looked out there trying to imagine what the roof would look like without the roof walk. And it is a rather long ridge, and that roof walk helps to break that up.
Yep. All right, chair is in agreement. I think it looks naked without it. All right, let's close this one. And 66 Holbert Ave. Garage move on. Why?
So if you remember, we've seen a couple of move on, move offs. Oh, wait a minute, wrong one. Sorry, guys. Move on, move offs in the Holbert Ave, Wall Street area. I think it was at Wall Street. And 66 Holbert is gonna try to get the structure from 60 Walsh Street. Say that 10 times fast. So in order to do that, they're proposing to move the existing garage, which is here, and relocate it on the other side of the lot because they've got double frontage, which they're gonna have to go to the planning board for a second driveway, but that's a different board. In order to move the structure that you all and the HDC allowed to be moved, move on, move off from 60 Wall Street. Basically, you got two applications before you. Yeah. So here's the move garage to the new location.
Should we maybe look at the move dwelling onto lot from 60 first before we look at the garage?
That's up to you. That's what I was going to ask you. The agenda has the garage on the lot first and then the dwelling. So whatever you want to do.
Let me just scroll through this, but. Mickey, do you want to look at the house first?
I can go either way. I'm fine. If you want to do that, that's fine.
All right, Lucy, do you want to look at the house first?
Please, I'm scrolling through it right now and I don't see any photographs.
Yeah. Angus, would you like to look at the house first? Would you mind?
That's fine.
All right.
This is that existing house that's on 60. That's going to move off onto 66 Holbert.
So
There are no photographs, but
There are
I
no
believe these are
photos.
the same elevations. Yeah. These are the same elevations that they included in the application, but no photos. Didn't realize that.
all right. Lucy, would you like to say anything about this dwelling?
At first, I really don't have a problem with it, but I'm not gonna, I'd like to see photographs. And how old is it?
This structure right now on 60 Wall Street was 1979.
Okay.
Mickey?
No, I'm trying to figure out which way this is going to be facing.
Yeah.
Like the front. What's going to face Wall Street? I would think south is facing Wall Street. Yeah.
Yes, so where it says west becomes south, that's what you're going to be looking at on Wall Street.
Yeah. So I mean, there are two French doors there, and they're the front of the building, which I assume used to be the north elevation for the two dormers. That's really the front of the house. Shouldn't that be facing Wall Street?
Where it says north becomes west,
Yeah,
you feel like north should become south?
I think that should face Wall Street.
Yeah.
Does it fit? Yeah, it does.
Should.
All right, so
Same concern. Basically the side, the way that the orientation is presented is that we'd be looking at the face of the side of the house facing the street.
With two French doors.
I don't think that's appropriate.
all right, yeah, chair is in agreement. I think they need to reconsider how to orient this building so that the French doors are not on Wall Street. And also maybe such that there is a proper front door on Wall Street, or at least something that resembles a proper front door. Realize it's not the primary entrance, but I think looking at French doors facing south might be a little bit much for that elevation. All right.
Can we ask to see this back with photographs?
Yes, I would like to ask that be the case.
Thank you.
If for some reason we're not able to see this back, if the HTC just goes ahead and processes, I'd like to make the recommendation that the north becomes the south, in which case, that side entry, I think, wants to change somehow. It's confusing to have two stairways facing the front.
All right.
Mhm.
If there are no further comments, I would like to close this application and pick up the garage application. So this is a garage that is this moving, this already exists and it's just being moved to the other side. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct. So the existing house is from 1920s, is an A-frame. I didn't see any age on the existing garage, but the garage is going to, in order to accept the move on structure, they're going to move this garage over to the other side and create a driveway over there. There are photographs of the garage.
Those look like concrete blocks to me. Um,
Are they going to change the garage doors?
There was nothing indicating of any changes to the garage, but that's a good point.
all right. Lucy, would you like to start?
My only comment is that I'd rather see different garage doors.
Mickey?
Yeah. This is going right on Holbert Avenue, right in the front of the house. A 3-day garage. I think if somebody were to apply for this from scratch today, I can't believe they would allow a building like that to be, this really simple, plain 3-day garage on that prominent of spot. Even facing to the side, it helps, but it's very, very visible coming down Holbert. So I don't really like it in front of the house. If they want a garage, they should design a more appropriate looking something than using that. I don't know. I'm not really in favor of it. Or leave it in the back of the property and just move it so that the other building fits near it somehow.
Angus?
This part of Wall Street running along the south side of the property feels more like the access alley rather than the main street that Holbert is. I agree with Mickey that I don't believe that this design, even though it exists on the property, is appropriate on Holbert Avenue this close to the road. And there are things with you can just barely tell in the photos because there aren't drawings of it, but like there's a door facing Holbert as proposed. And what happens with that is, is there going to be a little walkway in there, or what do you see from Holbert? Yeah, that elevation.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate for there.
All right. So I would like to throw out an idea, which is to rotate the garage 90 degrees so that you're actually driving past it to a parking area, or at least if you're accessing the building, you access it with the garage doors facing Wall Street, but on that side. And then it'll look a little bit more like a boathouse or, something along those lines. It might fit, and it might even allow parking spaces. I don't know how doable that is, but I think that if they're going to relocate the garage, I think that they can have those garage doors face back at the house.
I think that that's a good suggestion. If there's room for the curve of the drive to be able to pull into the garage and pull out, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think the back elevation is decent enough.
Yeah.
Again,
I think there's a couple of other buildings along Holbert Avenue that have that sort of situation where there is a small building forward.
I have to leave the meeting.
Okay.
Emergency. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Lucy. All right. Any further comments? All right, let's close this and move on to 11 Cliff Road. As-built fence. Dun, dun, dun. Do we know if the gate is
This-
as-built?
I believe. So here's a citation, if it's loading up for you. Given for the gate, I believe.
Ah, there it is, gates.
Gate and fence. So yes, so this is to cover both that were done.
Right, and it was, there was nothing ever there. Is that correct?
I believe so. I have not. And this has been a while. I believe this was a violation that was asked, called in or what have you. So it's taken a while to get to this point. But there they are. It's not the greatest application either. And I'm assuming red line, gate, and then in the middle is the fence.
Yeah, it does appear that everything is brand new based on the, even the Google Street View has it without a fence. So that's all new.
So this
Wow.
whole thing was built without any permitting or?
Correct.
All right,
In a highly prominent spot.
it's as prominent as it gets.
The nerve.
Mr. Rowland, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I was looking at the street view and you're right, there is nothing there. Or is there? There's a hedge. Yeah, it's just a hedge. I don't know. I don't mind it. It's what do the neighbors have on either side? There's a bunch of pickets in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, you have Avellino's house that has a picket fence. You have the Hughes's old house, that's a picket house. You have Horch House, and I think there's a picket fence. There's picket fences all up and down that street.
There aren't just picket fences, but there are actually, that scoop gate with the higher posts. There are a number of those, probably at least 3, if not
really?
more. What's missing here, I think, is a cap on the gate part to match what is on the fence. I think it's shameful that people just like ignore policy and just build things, but I don't think it's inappropriate. I don't appreciate how they did it.
Yeah.
All right. All right, yeah, Chair agrees with the need for a cap on the gate. I think it's totally appropriate, especially given this building and it's, just how prominent of a structure it is. I think this certainly helps. I think, again, it could have been an opportunity to do something a little bit more fun that was more in keeping with the architectural style of the building, but type 2 picket fence is what we get. And it's not the worst thing, so. All right, with no further comment, I'll move on. Close out comments. All
Built in
right.
1895.
Ah. All right. Next is 11 Cliff Road, fence gate property violation. So do we comment on that?
No, I think that was put in there to show why that was before you. I think
Okay.
that was just additional information to go with it. The last thing is 40 Jefferson. Bear with me. 40 Jefferson to replace a pergola roof. Hold on, here we go. Should be loading up for you. These were revisions. Hmm. Oh my goodness. All right, here we go.
So it looks like this faces back into the lot. Mickey, would you like to go?
Yeah. So this is going to be pretty visible driving up the road, looking at the edge of the end of this building. You know, before there was a pergola, and you know that was a fairly slender, delicate structure, and now showing this pretty. To me, it feels like a fairly massive porch roof. It's a 7 pitch for a porch roof. I think it's going to make the building feel much bigger as you're driving up the road. I like the pergola better because it doesn't add to the width of the structure. I think if they needed a roof over it, right next to it they've got a porch roof with a 4 pitch on it. So I'm not sure why they couldn't. You know, I know it's marrying into a 7 pitch, but I still don't see why they couldn't overlap 4 pitch over 7, and it'd be a much less noticeable prominent roof pitch. You know, this building hasn't been built yet, right? I mean, there's still the foundation there.
Yeah, I think it's just a foundation.
You know, I don't remember. Did we review this building before? I don't recognize it. You know,
I wish I could answer. I have no idea.
I think we did. I think it's been through a few different revisions.
Yeah.
And so what you're seeing may not be what we all saw at the very beginning.
I would like to ask Matt, you know, when you look at the front elevation, this is an aside, it's nothing to do with what they're applying for, the east elevation, that hip roof is a 10 pitch to me is just way too much roof. I think that this would feel a whole lot better if it were a much shallower roof pitch on a hip roof all over rather than a 10 pitch. And I know that's not what they're asking for, but they haven't built it yet. So to me, a 10 pitch on a hip roof is a lot of roof. And there are other hip roofs in the area, and I'll bet they're a lot shallower than the 10 pitch.
All right. Angus?
Yeah, I have to agree. It's refreshing to see a really nice design as it was proposed, and it has gone through some minor revisions along the way. And where it last ended up last time we saw it, I thought really looked good. I think that this, as Mickey says, adds too much mass to that appendage. You know, with just the simple hip over the structure and then the pergola, felt very balanced and worked well. I feel like this compromises the structure and now, you know, is competing with adjacent masses. You know, if they had to have a covered porch, I think Mickey has a good suggestion to go with a smaller pitch, but the mass of it just feels too much.
Chair agrees. It's massive. And it could certainly be a four pitch. It could be pulled maybe a little bit closer so it doesn't align with the adjacent roof. I think that would be helpful. So it really is subservient to it. But yeah, overall, I agree with what's been said. If there are no further comments, I'd like to close this application. And
Mr. Chair, we have a couple announcements I just wanted to make.
yeah,
Okay. So under other business,
yep,
about our Resilient Nantucket, if you all are familiar with that program that we've been working on, this is with our consultant for creating our design guidelines. This is our first community forum that we were supposed to have in March, but because of COVID, we've had to reschedule. So would love to have you guys participate if you can. We've got 2 different webinars this Friday, which is following after NPT's symposium this week. And then also I want to extend the camp program that we're going to be bringing to the island. Well, now virtually. We are going to have the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions bring their commission assistance and mentoring program. It'll be a 2-day learning event. It is extended to you all as advisory board members in November 6th and 13th. I will have more information soon, but looking forward to having some professionals help everybody out and just some more education for the preservation world. So I'll let you know when that's all set, but I just wanted to provide that additional information to you.
all right, thank you. I see there is a name here, Alice Gerster something. Holly, do you know who that is?
I do not know who that is.
Okay. All right. All right, may I have a motion to approve the comments for the agenda items?
Motion.
Second?
Okay.
All right. And is there anything else I need to say before I adjourn the meeting?
We have to
No.
take a vote all the way around.
Roll call. Just do
Okay.
a roll call on that last
Oh, on
one.
the approved comments? All right.
Yes.
You motioned, you seconded. I mean,
Aye.
all right. Mickey Rowland,
Aye.
Angus McLeod,
Aye.
Harris in favor. All right. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll
Motion.
make a motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All right. Let's vote on that. Angus McLeod,
Aye.
Mickey Rowland,
Aye.
Harris in favor. All right. That's it, right?
Brooke, thank
That's
you
it.
for joining the meeting.